1.
What's up, everybody? Man, child, and a yogi. It's Aaron Putnam here. My wife, Hillary Lockwood.
Hi there.
Hey, and two guests, special guests. Curtis Shaw Flagg from Laugh Factory Chicago.
What up?
And Joe DeRosa's here
Hey.
Hi.
in town for shows and podcasts.
Yeah.
All right. You guys, thanks for coming. What's up, honey? How have you been?
I'm good. Busy. It's been busy today. I just drove in from Michigan with a cat in the car and a 19-year-old kid. That's all true.
It's so funny with her. It's
That's
like
all true.
everything with her, she adds, even to us, she adds time to things. She's like, yeah, we've been together 9 years. I'm like, it's 6.
He has no idea how long we've actually been together.
She has no concept of time. Her kid's 18. He's 19. He'll be 19 in January. It's like she adds time.
I was actually on your side, Hill, for a second
He is
until he
amazing.
just.
It's true, though. I did have a cat and a kid in the car. So, yeah.
So it's a beautiful day outside, and everyone has their head up their ass because it's warm out, and I'm probably going to catch a vehicular manslaughter charge, if I can say that.
Oh, shit.
Absolutely going to catch a case of
Dude,
that.
these people are horrible. I don't know. I can't deal with it, so I need to take a breath. Too much traffic, first sunny day, all that shit.
I guess this is a great time to say this, but earlier today I was leaving Laugh Factory, like put some shit up, and I walked outside. It was super hot. I kind of like wiped the sweat from my brow, and I go, God damn. And it was like, oh shit, it's hot. And then I get to my car, I get to the stoplight, and these two girls walk up. She's like, you fucking pervert. You fucking pervert. You looked at me, and you were like, God damn, like, what the fuck are you talking about? Also, you're like a little girl. Like, what? And then she dumped her whole thing of water on me in the car. I swear to you, it was on the way here.
See, welcome to the club.
At the same time, there's one of those, I don't know, cavalcade of kids that are all like chain linked together or whatever that they like walk around town, like the daycare, yeah.
Leashes,
And so they're yelling at me. I'm like, you're a little girl. You're a little girl. She's like, you're a fucking pervert. And then the little kids are walking by. And then she turns to the kid and she's like, watch out for him. He's a pervert. I'm like, what the fuck just happened in like
Dude, run.
4 minutes?
How old was she?
I'm going to assume like 15.
Oh, no.
And she was like, you want my home? And these were two little like white girls. She's like, I'm going to call my homies and have them air you out. And then I thought it was hilarious. I was like, air me out. Really? Air
I don't
me
even know
out?
what that means. I'm not going to lie. I have no idea what that even means.
Jesus Christ.
It was just like
My mind.
0 to 100. And I'm like, and so like that happened. I'm like, what the fuck was that? And then
So she's fine with hanging out with people that shoot people, but if you say goddamn about her face, you're a horrible person.
I mean,
we
she has
got
boundaries. They're
yeah.
fucked up, but she's got boundaries. I was like, I also didn't even see him, so it was like weird. They like walked up to the car. I was like at the stop sign, and they're like, "Motherfucker!" I was like, "Oh shit!" Like, like if that didn't tell you right then that I had no idea of your existence up until that point. Like,
I forget how kids can be because, I mean, I was a pretty bad kid, but like some shit will happen with her kids where I'm like, well, let's go to their house. And, like in my mind for a second, I'm like, I got to remind myself that I can't kick the shit out of like a teenager.
Right.
Because but it's like when they
That'd be
talk to you
bad.
like that, I'm like, well, then I want to kick his dad's ass. Like somebody's getting fucked up.
Right, yeah. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
Not appropriate.
I
Yeah.
did want to meet the homies. I was
Yeah.
very curious to see what the
Black,
homies.
black.
were. Yeah. They were probably not black. I can tell you that much.
black.
Just the way she said it, I'm like, homies.
But these days, I mean, I'm hoping you just got in your car and got the fuck out of there because
Yeah.
Well, I had to sit for like another minute and a half. It was a red light. I'm like, what the fuck? And then the kids are looking at me, even though, like, because I feel like when you throw an accusation out there like that, you know, you got to believe the victim. I almost believe. I was like, did I? I don't think I did, but all right. Like, the kids are like, the ladies are like, come on, kids. I'm like, this is some bullshit.
so hard to be kind on the streets. It
Yeah,
really
that's
is.
true.
I was talking to Mother Nature, not you. I was like,
Yeah.
God damn, we're looking hot as
Right.
People
fuck
don't know
out
how to
here.
mind their own business anymore. That's
Yeah.
the problem.
And also, it ain't about you, you know? Like, they also were wearing, they were like I said, they were probably like 14, 15 max, like tube top, like cry. And I was like, okay, I can see why you would think that. But also, you clearly were setting yourself up for, you know, the whole like, oh, why'd you go outside walking? Like, no, literally, like, if you're going to react so quickly over someone
Right.
who, like, not even looking at you, like, kind of looking up in the sky, like, holy shit. And you're
Jesus
like, why?
Christ.
These perverts?
Yeah,
No.
it's definitely tricky for sure.
I'm just trying to vindicate myself. I
Especially
was
with-
totally
with-
hollering at 14-year-olds as well.
Oh my God, that better not be true.
It's not a promise.
Well, the way
Jeez,
kids
yeah.
are these days, though. I mean, like I volunteer at that rehab, and some of these kids come in there. I'm like, when did you start shooting heroin? They're like 14.
Jeez.
and my
It's
boyfriend
really
was
scary.
21. It's like kids are doing adult shit. You know what I mean? So they think they are adults in some
Right.
ways, which is fucked up.
Right.
Great way to start this podcast off.
Yeah,
I didn't think you had. I don't know if you
Why,
had
why's it gotta
direction.
go there?
So
Okay, honey, I want you to give us a man, child, and the yogi. So, us together. It's frustrating for her. Maybe my point of view on most things is a little more insane.
Adolescent.
Doesn't make sense, I guess.
yeah.
Why don't you give us a sutra?
All right. Well, I was thinking about that a lot, and I think from now on it really should be a random sutra. But I think today for you guys it should be Hayam Dukam Anagatam, which means pain that has not yet come is avoidable.
Okay.
Right?
That's nice.
So that means, because you guys as comedians, right, you worry. Tell me you don't worry or you're not anxious.
I'm anxious right now.
Yeah.
Most comedians have a story, and the story's big. And I feel like without a little bit of tragedy or challenge, you wouldn't be on stage in the first place.
Yes.
There would be nothing to talk about.
Well, you'd be surprised at how many
Yes.
boring cutie pies get up there. You're just like, what makes you think anybody wants to even listen to what you're
Listen
saying?
to this.
But you're,
So
I think,
legit.
I agree with you that I think, it's usually more interesting if there's some dirt on you.
If there's a little trauma in there, right?
Yeah.
But then we spin that and spin that and spin that throughout the course of our lives. And it's what turns into pain, avoidable pain.
Mm-hmm.
Worrying about things that haven't happened, creating scenarios that don't exist.
Oh, yeah.
Because, you do the whole monologue in the car before you even get to the situation.
Yeah.
And you get to the situation and it's opposite.
Right.
We all do it. We all do it.
Well, but then you hear a story like the one he just told, and that's the kind of shit I worry about. Like that
Yeah.
somebody's going to misinterpret something I do, and then they're going to spin it into. If that happened to me today, I would have went home.
We got on a plane.
It would have freaked me out too much. It's
Here's the
too
thing,
freaky.
though. I feel like if maybe the reaction would have been different from you. Sometimes all it takes is changing one tiny little thing about a circumstance that changes the whole confrontation.
And that's always easier said than done, because that's many times I choose the fucking low road.
He does.
It's
He
crowded. I'm like,
snaps.
cool. I'm like, you picked the right person.
That's my problem. I get reactionary when somebody throws something on me.
Yeah.
Especially if I don't think I'm guilty of it.
Yeah.
I get very reactionary.
Oh, for
Like
sure.
when the Brett Kavanaugh thing was airing.
Yeah.
I'm not saying he was innocent, but I don't know if he was. I wasn't there. But the way he was reacting, and people were like, "Can you believe he's reacting like this?" I'm like, "That's how the fuck I'd be reacting if I thought I was innocent."
That is-
I was like,
yeah.
"That's exactly how I'd be reacting."
Pissed.
Like,
Yeah.
I was like, so I get that much. If he's innocent and he's freaking out like that, I understand why. But
Yeah.
you
That's
know.
actually just because in that moment, like kind of what happened to me today, like she throws the water at me. Any other circumstance, and honestly, if it was a guy, I'm putting the car in park.
Sure,
I'm
that
putting
would
the
have been
car in park.
different.
If it's a
for
14,
sure.
if it's a 14-year-old boy, I'm putting the car
But
in
it
park.
also could have been worse.
Yeah,
I mean, if that
could have been like like hot grease or something. But like it was like a split second that like I almost went back to like kind of being her age. I'm like,
Yeah.
fuck this. And I was like, what looks worse, me like hitting on a 14-year-old, which was like kind of the accusation at the moment, or me getting out and beating the shit out of a 14-year-old? Like, I don't know.
Dude,
It
well,
depends.
that's definitely
like,
worse.
It's okay. Okay, there we
latter
go.
is worse,
There we
for
go.
sure.
Beating her up is worse than her.
Definitely
But, I mean,
Now I know.
But here's what's crazy is we live in this climate now where the accusation even getting tossed at you can then turn into criminal offense. I'm not saying that that's what's going to happen.
to you,
But
for sure.
So then all of a sudden the idea of punching a 14-year-old or 15-year-old in the face for some stupid shit starts to make a little bit more sense.
Sounds slightly.
It doesn't sound
better.
quite as crazy because of the ramifications of what their words can mean now.
It does sound crazy,
Which-
and nobody should punch a
No,
14-year-old.
I'm not saying anybody should do it.
Where are we on this? Are we pro punching?
No. I'm not saying anybody should do it. I'm just saying we live in such a let me rephrase it. When somebody's saying something about you, just saying it can literally ruin your entire life.
It's true.
The wound healing of a punch in the face doesn't seem quite as tragic.
Sure.
At that point.
So here's
That's
the
what
thing.
I'm saying.
Here's
I'm not saying you should do it, but
No, of course not.
You know,
And
For
here's
the record, I did not.
Here,
Right,
for the record, yeah. No, really. So I think part of it is not only our reaction, but why is it okay for kids? So now we're on that subject to behave that way or react that way. What's happening at home for that to be the initial jump? Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, like 3/4 of the way here, I thought that. I was like, maybe she's just...
honestly, everybody's defensive at this point, and that's what you were just saying. Right. Everybody's defensive, and the climate means everybody's now on guard, which breeds violence. That's what's happening.
That's what I'm saying, yeah. And it's like, but a girl, and when I say 14-year-old, I'm not applying it to female or male. I'm just saying in general. But like but that just sounds like a girl looking to be pissed off about something.
Sure. Right, and which means something else is happening.
Right. So there's I knew girls like that when I was growing up, and it wouldn't have been you're a pervert then. It would have just been like, what the fuck are you looking at?
Right.
Or watch your fucking car, whatever. They would have just found some way to get mad for no reason.
Right.
And to be because they just want to be mad because there's some shit happening at home.
Yeah.
Like you said, obviously. The problem is now though, and that's what I'm getting at, is back in the 90s when a punk kid did that to you, you'd be like, get the fuck out of here, man.
We literally could beat each other up at school. You know? We could fight.
Yeah. You would just, if you were the adult, I mean, though, you could just say, okay, get the fuck out. And nobody's listening. You're a punk kid.
Yeah.
Now the punk kid can say some shit and it can become a headline, and it's like, yo, dude, I didn't fucking do any, which is why I say suddenly the idea of grabbing a kid by the fucking hair or I was going to say throat. That sounds crazy.
God.
But grabbing a kid by the hair and being like, yo, dude.
Like a rag doll.
Give me strength.
Doesn't seem
and just putting some fear in him is like suddenly like, are we going back to that now? Are we going back to a place where now we have to start reinstating fear? Because there is no fear.
That, but you can't do that. You
can't. I'm just saying.
Even with your own kids.
I'm just saying in a philosophical sense. Yeah. Like, are we getting to that point where so much fear is lost that it's almost like the way our parents justified hitting us when we were kids, because that was a way to keep order.
Sure,
you know what I mean? I mean, it's fucking crazy. You look at that Moby shit that just happened.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ. I mean, I fucking hate Moby. I hate Moby. I was so happy that he was getting trashed. But I don't agree with why he was getting trashed.
I didn't even know what happened.
It's like he said he dated Natalie Portman in his book, and then Natalie Portman came out and said, we didn't date. I was 18, he was 31, and I felt that he wanted to be inappropriate with me, which, first of all, there's no such thing as inappropriate between 31 and 18. Everybody's legal. Now, if you're saying assault, that's a different story, or inappropriate.
Sure, let's make that boundary clear, though.
Did you see the professionals?
Yeah, but that's not what she was saying. Yeah. She was insinuating like he wanted to be romantic with me, and I thought it was inappropriate. It's like, well, you were of age,
right?
But that all that aside, that's all she said. She didn't accuse him of anything, whatever. That then immediately, and I'm talking within minutes, became the headline of every blog, and it was like Natalie Portman. Natalie Portman says creepy in quotes. Moby acted inappropriate in quotes with Natalie Portman, and then that becomes the truth of it. And that's what I'm saying. It's like, so this shit happening to you. You walk, goddamn, it's hot. Who the fuck are you saying that pervert? Then some Laugh Factory manager, perverted in quotes, Laugh Factory manager
has dick out at corner.
And then I was gonna. That's kind of the next.
None of this happened.
It's like, God damn. Well, it's because you're not famous. I mean, that's one thing that truly is the one thing.
God, I love being
But I feel like but it's all of our responsibilities. I mean, that's the truth. We can point fingers at everybody else all over the place, but it's also our responsibility. Can we, when someone cuts you off in the car, Aaron, Joel, can you not snap? No.
Probably not.
No.
Right? But by not snapping means that a confrontation has been avoided, and then maybe there's less violence in general. We're breeding it by the way that we behave as well.
I would agree with that, but the problem is it's to me. I agree with the whole. If you ever listen to the who's the guy that wrote, who's the author that killed himself that wrote that book?
There's so many.
Confederacy of Dunces.
Oh yeah.
Oh, I don't know.
He did that speech. He did a keynote speech where he talked about like being reactionary with
James is going to find it though.
People. It's a pretty great speech.
John Kennedy Toole.
I think that, I think he's the one that did the speech. I'm pretty sure, but he did this keynote speech at a college about like, you know, you have to imagine what the other person's plight is.
Yeah.
Even if it's not true, that's how we respect one another. That's how you're not always telling people to get the fuck out of your way, whatever. I 100% agree with that. Unfortunately, we're hitting a point now in the entitlement game that the people cutting you off are unable to take responsibility for it.
Yeah.
So that's what I say. It's taking us now back to this tribal place of like, do I have to fucking hit you right now? Do you not fucking understand what you just did? Like I was telling you about the dude that pulled out and made a left-hand turn illegally across a double yellow, almost hit a guy. The guy that he almost hit honked at him, and the dude making the illegal left went like this. And I'm like, dog, I would have been out of my car. I would have been kicking a fucking dent in your car.
Yeah, for sure.
So I agree. Everybody's got a story. I think that's really important to pay attention to, because maybe the guy cuts you off because they're on the way to the hospital and someone's dying. That they, you know, I mean, we don't know that, but yeah.
Or more so, what it
reaction
does
matters.
What it does to you, like what it does to me, actually, like for someone that doesn't drink or do drugs anymore, when I get that mad, I feel like I did way too much coke and I'm gonna have a heart attack. That's how bad my anxiety gets when someone makes me mad, and I have a choice to take the other way. But like, you know that show Boiling Points? It was on MTV.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
If that would have happened to me, I would have stabbed someone. They would have had me in 2 seconds.
And I mean,
It'd be the reason why there's a disclaimer. You know, they gotta fill out the waiver and shit.
And look at this shit that everybody says TV is harmless and look, I don't believe in banning any or censoring any kind of art. Put it out there, and if people are dumb enough to react to it and be influenced by it, then that's their problem. But it's like you parade this reality horseshit 24 hours a day, as we did for decades on television, with the worst behavior being celebrated. From Boiling Point to the Housewives, whatever it is. You parade that on TV for 24 hours a day, and it always comes back to this to me. It's not a TV problem. It's not a Twitter problem. It's not a gun problem. It's not a voting problem. It's a people problem. People aren't, the average person is not able to handle it, period. That's just the way it is.
Yeah.
Which is why it's exploited.
We feed the beast is essentially what we're doing.
So the average person is going to see that and be dumb enough to buy into it and think that's how you get things done or whatever. And then people go, well, now we got to ban the thing. And it's like, no, you don't got to ban the thing. You just got to realize what you're surrounded by and take yourself out of the fucking equation. I mean, it's like before Atlanta and before Alabama, or Georgia and Alabama with these abortion things, the big state everybody complained about was Arizona. And my take was always, fucking leave Arizona.
Yeah.
Why are we all expelling rational energy, logical energy, intellectual energy to try to get Arizona to figure it out? They're not gonna.
They don't want to figure it out.
They didn't celebrate Martin Luther King Day till 2 years ago. Don't go there. Or go there and hang out with the good people and then leave. But stop.
Go there and make a change.
Go to Bisbee and hang out with Stanhope.
I was gonna say beyond that, and Rick's Comedy Club. Have you been to Arizona? Like, who the fuck wants?
But it's just like this is what this place is, and this is what this place is going to be. Like it's like we have to just accept that there's going to always be a North Korea. Okay.
Yeah.
They're dicks. It's not. I'm not fucking out there trying to. How do we enlighten North Korea? It ain't fucking happening.
It's not happening.
It ain't happening.
The only way things are gonna change, really, though, it's like, because Hillary and I go back and forth. They're like, our kids. Our parents responsible for kids acting like total dicks, and we have to be responsible a little bit, because if you don't teach them to be good people, they'll usually be pricks and assholes for sure. But
Sure.
it's just, and that's what happens a lot, because it's like you said about disciplining. I mean, my dad didn't beat me, but I for sure fucking flinched when he came in the room. If I knew his energy, I knew his buttons, and I knew, it's just, that's what it was. Kids now, they're like, I know my right. Like, I don't know why there's always, I always tell Hillary, I go, why is everything a conversation with the kid? My mom, there's just always, it'd be like, shut up. That's because so. I said so. Shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
And that doesn't happen anymore. What do you think? What do you think we should do? It's like,
and I genuinely do care what they think. They're people.
Right.
I do. They're people. And as far as parenting goes, I feel like we, because of that reason, have had a better relationship that's more honest than we would have if I did the former.
What do you mean by
like
that?
not talking to them, like just saying, this is the way it is. This is how it's going to be.
She thinks that
I
the
think a
parenting
conversation
style
needs to
of
happen.
you're the child, I'm the adult, listen to me. I think there's just a middle ground there where it's like, yes, I respect your feelings, but I can't debate everything, because your kids are more entitled now in general. What do you want? What do you need? How do you feel about this?
I think you both have a point. I think there's a middle ground. I think there's.
Yeah.
I mean, look, situations need leaders. That's all there is to it. It's like Rotten Tomatoes had to change their fucking algorithm because everybody had an equal voice. It doesn't work.
It doesn't work, man.
It doesn't work. That's literally anarchy.
Yeah.
So it's like you have to have a leader. You have to have somebody going. It's like I've worked in a ton of writers' rooms on TV shows. If somebody is not in there being like, we're not taking any more pitches on this joke. Shut the fuck up. We're moving on.
Yeah.
You'll be there till 2:00 in the morning.
Yeah.
Because people don't have the ability to independently move it forward.
Yeah.
Most people. But now it's evil to be a leader. It's evil to because that means you're controlling or
you're
too
drowning out a voice.
masculine or whatever the fuck it is.
No one has a voice. Everyone has a voice.
But I mean, go on Twitter and try to make a point on Twitter and see how that fucking goes.
I tried to jump into a Twitter argument. It's actually about Lisa Traeger. They like went back in some old like tweets, and she said some shit that was it was a joke, and she'd actually added some of the people who she was making the joke about, Ramon Rivas, and it was like a Mexican joke or something. Like that. People were like going back, and I'm like, get a life, right? Like number one, get a life. She was on like Bill Maher or something, and she was talking. I think it was like a Bernie thing. They're like, how dare she speak on politics? Anytime you get into politics, it gets all fucking weird. Right. And so I'm going back and forth with like 2 or 3 people who may have all been the same fucking person about just like kind of like freedom of speech and like you got to understand the context. And it was a joke. She's a comedian. Like let her fucking say the shit. Shut up. And they just won't stop, no matter how many points you like make, and there's never a definitive answer. It always goes back to the fact that it's free speech. If you have a problem with it, then you have a problem with it. But like,
don't engage.
You're trying to mobilize to like get her canceled. Like the whole cancel culture shit, and it's like. No one's listening to it's just you, and you're like tweeting at CNN and tweeting at HBO and tweeting at all of these places that like she is making a career from, and potential like never book her, never put her on your show because, and then like the copy and pasting the like tweets that she made. It's like, what the fuck are you doing?
If you don't, Lisa's my friend. We're friends. But if you, and I hope that she did this for herself. But if you don't establish a line in the sand, go fuck yourself policy very quickly, that's it. Yeah, you have to be like. I had the joke about Biden. I'm like, Biden's got a shot because that woman accused him, and he was like, I didn't do that shit. Go fuck yourself.
Yeah.
And she was like, I want an apology. He's like, no, I didn't do it. Yeah. Like I was like, that's why Biden's going to win. Bernie's always like, and people don't respect that shit. People don't respect it.
Yeah. Bernie. That's funny. That was actually kind of her stance on Biden and Bernie. And actually, her comments were about Bernie, and Lisa's a good friend of mine too. I've known her for years. And I had actually texted her. I was like, "Yo, got your back out here fighting them Twitter wars." But she had, and I didn't know this. She had already issued an apology. It was like, I feel like all celebrities are doing this, where you, instead of just like putting it into text, like you'll put it in your and then you like post the picture of the text, and it's like, here's my like issued statement. So she came out, and she could have easily been like, yo, like, and she had like some like gay jokes, like some of her best friends are like Mateo Lane, and a lot of these people who are like very, very openly gay and have no problem with it and would have signed off for it. But instead of kind of getting in the weeds with like, I got a black friend, kind of shit, she's just like, yo, if you felt offended by it, obviously not my intention. Like, try to live my life, being as positive as possible. But I'm a comic, and so I'm gonna say things that you may not like, and which is fine. But I do like, because I know Lisa, and Lisa's true heart. She just wanted to be like, fuck you, like, kiss my ass. Like, this shit was from like 8 years ago. You fucking loser. Like, I know that, but at a certain point too, you kind of want to like. Well, and I'm sure for her, she's like, I can't. To me,
the problem is you got to go. You got to go Howard Stern, or you're fucked, because it's like once you say sorry once, then next week when they're offended again, it's something else you did. What if you don't say sorry that next time or whatever? It's like it's the one. I can't. The Louis thing is obviously a button pushing topic, and I like Louis, and I'm not knocking the guy, but I also have thoughts about how he conducted himself and things I don't agree with, and I feel bad for some of the women that were involved with that stuff. But all that being said, the one thing I agreed with him doing totally was when he came back doing stand-up, him being so flippantly like, fuck you with the subject matter. Because at first I was like, why would he do this? He's digging a deeper hole.
Right.
Now I'm like, oh, no, man. He was just being like, I'm not doing this with you guys again.
Yeah.
This is... So, again, regardless of if he's guilty or whatever, or if you hate him or if you don't, I'm not talking about any of that. What I'm just talking about is I understand that tactic of I'm not going down this road again with you. It's not happening. And if you look at a lot of the sort of unscathed artists who are usually under the radar, but I mean, you look at like the movies Abel Ferrara puts out versus the Sonic the Hedgehog movie, where the studio is apologizing because Sonic didn't look right
Right.
to the fans. You know what I mean? And then you go watch an Abel Ferrara movie, and it's like, Jesus Christ Almighty! Like, you want to fucking kill yourself after because it's so dark. It's like that guy's still doing symposiums at 92Y Tribeca. It's like he's never going to have to say I'm sorry because he's like, fuck you. This is what I do. This is Tarantino's another great example. Tarantino's the most mainstream example of a guy that's like, I will not apologize.
Yeah.
And he's gotten so much shit about the language he uses in his movies, about the stance he's taken on publicly with police, whatever. And here's a guy that goes, fuck you, I'm not apologizing. And then he gets a guy like Sam Jackson that comes out and goes, I'm friends with Quentin and I'm friends with Spike Lee, and I work with both of them frequently, and I like them both.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's what it's about.
Yeah.
Sam Jackson just showed us that's what it's about. You're allowed to say, regardless of the offense, I there are things about this guy I like, or this woman or whatever. And that's what we're losing sight of, this canceled bullshit of like, Keith Robinson made a great point to me once on the phone. Only once. No, okay.
She doesn't know who Keith is. I'll tell you.
He's a comic. He's the best.
He's
the
Suddenly
best.
Aaron knows something I don't.
But he just
There's a moment.
he talked about all the people like reacting to Louis, going like he needs to go find something else to do for work, and it's like he's like so what? It's okay if he goes and jerks off in front of all the dishwashers.
Yeah.
It's like
God.
he's like what? Like how? Like what do you like? That's not an answer. That's not a solution to anything. And then he did apologize, and I know tons of women that said I thought his apology was lovely. I also know tons of women that said, fuck him.
Yeah.
I want more.
I want more. And I like and respect both sides of those women.
Well,
I don't say I'm going to be one or the other, but it also doesn't mean if this guy wants to go sell, if he's able to go sell 300 tickets somewhere and play, let the motherfucker go play. Why? I'm not. I gotta try to shut down this Applebee's because they did a Louis C.K. show in it.
That's the entertainment line, though. Where is the line now? Where is the line where it's entertainment and where it's real?
What do you
People
mean?
take it very seriously. So you guys, I mean, what you do on stage, you talk about real shit.
Right.
This is real life.
Right.
And who gets to decide who censors you? Or should you be censored in the first place? Because I don't believe comedy should be censored. That's the whole point of being a comedian.
Yeah. I don't think anything should ever be censored. And I always will go back to, hey, man, if that's what you want to put your time and effort into subscribing to, that's your problem. It's not mine. Yeah. Whether it's, Scooby-Doo or fucking neo-Nazism, hey, man, if you're attracted to...
That's an extreme.
Well,
It's a wide spectrum.
well, I'm trying to be...
That's big.
Yeah, that's my point. It's like, hey, man, if in your heart you're attracted to neo-Nazism, dude, there's something wrong in your heart.
Right.
I don't give a fuck. I don't go where you hang out anymore, dude.
Yeah.
Because you're nuts and your friends are nuts and I'm not into it. This bullshit of like, it can't exist.
Yeah.
It will always. I used to have a bit in my act about serial killers, and I'd be like, people think they're going to get rid of brutality by making these apps where only the woman can text the guy. Serial killers have one thing in common: success. They're fucking great at it.
Well, it's like
Because they know how to adapt. Every time a serial killer gets popped, nobody goes, "I knew it." They go, "God damn, that was my neighbor. I thought he was like a good dude."
it's like everybody's
It's so
everybody's a
nuts.
Tipper Gore now. It's like back to that shit. It's like you can't fucking we can't have this. It's like don't listen to NWA. You know,
Right.
don't listen to it. Or
Yeah.
I mean, I always had to say it's like with people. Often I'll be like somebody like, "Oh, you don't like that guy?" I'm like, I don't dislike him. I just don't want to have lunch with the guy. That's kind of how I feel. It's like you don't have to love someone to let them do their horse shit or be them.
Yeah. Here's an inside scoop, and I'm sure this isn't news to anyone. As somebody who books a club,
Right.
and I know this happens, with bar shows. Anyone who books talent, the amount of messages, emails, phone calls, that I get from anywhere from comedians in the scene to people who have come out and watched the show that say, hey, XYZ comic said this, I was offended, I don't think you should book them, or XYZ.
Right.
And at the end of the day, the only thing, the common denominator that everyone wants is just for them to not have work. And it's always interesting to me when it comes from another comic, because I have a list of questions for them, and it's like, well, then what is comedy to you? Why are you in this?
Yeah,
and
they're not.
what are
They're
you saying?
not.
And
Yeah.
take a deep look at your own material and see if there's something in there that would offend the 0.001%.
I mean, it's music. It's music too. It's happening. Music at this point, you can say anything, you can do anything. Nobody's censoring music. Why would comedy be any different?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It has as big of an impact.
No. And that's the thing. It's like when I was growing up, the remnants of '80s, the '80s punk scene were still lingering. Gangster rap was very big. You watch that Jimmy Iovine Dre documentary. He talks Jimmy Iovine through the entire thing. It's like it was freedom of speech, and I had to defend it. It's like, why is that going away? He was getting heat from liberals at that time about completely different issues.
Yeah.
But he was getting heat from the liberal media and the fucking conservative media. The conservatives, strangely, now have kind of backed away from criticizing this sort of content, and
It's flipped on its head.
Yeah,
where
which is odd.
before the conservatives like, you can't say that. That is it. Now it's like a complete and utter, almost blind defense of free speech.
Well,
and being able to kind of say what you want.
conservatives
no matter
have brilliantly mastered smugness. I mean, they've gotten really good at it. They're really good now at sitting back and not losing their cool and just being like, Like, watch Ann Coulter debate Joy Behar. Joy Behar's like throwing
All over the
fucking
place.
copybooks up into the air.
Yeah.
True.
Coulter's just like, you're just wrong. You don't know what you're talking about. You know, like, so like that's part of it. They're like, oh, if we just don't attack this stuff anymore, we'll let the left just swallow itself up.
Yeah.
But it's like, what happened to all that free speech defense? It's like, Kyle Kinane said in an interview once, I wish Gigi Allen was still alive to show people what offensive really is.
Yeah.
And it's like, the same clubs where I would go see Bad Religion and bands that were very progressive and forward thinking also booked Gigi Allen. And nobody ever called for that club to be shut down because here's a guy carving the swastika in his head and throwing shit at people in the audience.
Lighting his girlfriend on fire.
Yeah, because that's what those people wanted to see.
Yeah.
It's
And if
not
you
a
didn't like it, you didn't
reflection of
go.
the club.
Yeah, you didn't go to
it's
the
just
show.
like some people are into this shit, I guess.
Well, that's how it was when I told you I was booking the patio theater a little bit here, and I was making good money doing it, and I got a call to book Milo Yiannopoulos, and it was going through and everything, and I got the whole this
I
neighborhood
agree with that.
was just, I mean, it is what it is. Like he can do what he, whatever. I mean,
Well, the Louis thing.
Yeah.
Opportunity
Yeah.
came. It's like, do you? And I'm like, I don't give a shit.
mean,
it's just one of those things where, unfortunately for me,
Yeah.
I have one boss,
Yeah.
and that's Jamie Masada. He's and he's given me pretty much autonomy to do what I want, with the club, as long as it doesn't burn down, shut down,
Well, because you were worried
or anything.
When I asked you about Louis, because when I got that call, you were more worried about what the comics were going to think, or what just that local pedestrian.
It was more.
All I know is it would have sold out. But
yeah,
that's
it was one of those things where I was like, you know what, let me send it up the chain.
Yeah.
Like, let me send it up the chain. I mean, we had fucking Jeremy Piven, who is not a stand-up comedian.
Horrible comic.
He's not.
Horrible.
He's not even. I don't even want to call him a comic because he's an actor.
Dude,
he's a comedic actor, and it was one of those things they got put on the books by Hollywood, and
Jay
so
Davis.
here he is. Yeah, right. The whole thing. And I had no choice. I had to swallow that. I fought a little bit. I pushed back, and I'm like, can we not do this? Not only just for the sole purpose of he's not a fucking stand-up comic, but also why go through all of the bullshit that is gonna happen kind of through, because that was when like the heat really was kind of on him, and he ran from acting and then went to stand-up. It was only like he was like, oh shit, it's kind of like halfway accepted here, like I can still sell out a show, and I can't do the CBS show, but I can do the Laugh Factory show, so why not do it?
It's hilarious the way they pick and choose who they make the examples out of.
Yeah.
Jeremy Piven can still make money for this industry, and this industry is very aware of that. So Jeremy Piven, and I'm not saying he's guilty. I'm just talking about the way these people handle these things. Jeremy Piven passed a lie detector test, and that
3.
was, yeah, and
that's what he told me. I called him. He's like, look, I passed 3 like accredited lie detector tests. I'm like, well, you're also a great actor, so I don't really know what to believe.
And that was enough for people to say, okay, we can justify Jeremy Piven making us money. Woody Allen, on the other hand, also passed a lie detector test, and also the accusations were investigated by a child defense organization. I can't remember the name of it, and he was cleared. And
still doesn't
Woody
matter.
Allen can't make a fucking dime for this business anymore. So he's like, no matter what, we won't even entertain that maybe he didn't do it. Even his wife doing a scathing fucking New York Times article about Mia Farrow saying she referred to me as retarded publicly to people till I was 16 years old.
Jesus.
Like none of that carries any weight, water, nothing. Again, whether he did it or not, I don't know. But it's just funny to me. Everybody goes, oh, they got Weinstein. It's like Weinstein wasn't going to make a fucking dime for this industry anymore. He was out. Abrams is in.
Yeah.
Abrams is the new Weinstein. Weinstein is a past fucking relic in this business. They were able to get rid of him.
Only thing I'm really upset about the Weinstein thing is they had like the par deal for the Richard Pryor biopic, and I'm like, where's that at now? Can somebody give that to Spike Lee?
Yeah, I know. That's a bummer that's not happening.
It was like it's a casualty, obviously, of a very serious situation.
But Bryan Singer's another one. Bryan Singer makes this industry money, and it's like multiple.
Oh, did they let him off the hook?
He just signed a huge fucking deal. He's doing the remake of Red Sonja. It's like a $50 million movie. It's like, and it's like whether he's guilty or not, I don't know. But my point is there are people that couldn't make that. Woody Allen was accused of far less than what Bryan Singer was, but Woody Allen doesn't make 100th for this industry what Bryan Singer does. You're talking about the X-Men guy. This guy makes this fucking business money.
Billions,
So they're like, don't direct the third shitty X-Men that's about to come out. We'll have the second AD do it or whatever. The second unit guy do it. And go away till Red Sonja comes out because we need that to make fucking cash.
I walked out of Blue Jasmine like, cancel Woody Allen immediately.
I like Blue Jasmine.
You like that one?
Oh,
Yeah, I liked it.
I like Dice.
Let me ask you a question about I am very curious. Have you noticed in all his movies how someone always plays, not him, but like he writes for himself and somebody else?
Yeah.
And then I noticed in that one movie, what was it? Henry? What the fuck was? I'm sorry.
It's a name.
He kissed. There's like a bunch of different stories that had Toby Maguire in it and Deconstructing Harry.
Deconstructing Harry. Yeah.
Harry.
Yeah.
So he was like, I'm definitely in this scene because he wanted to fucking smooch. What's her name? He's like, nobody's playing me in this, bitch.
That's one of the last ones that he was kind of in.
Yeah, he's like, if I get a scene with somebody he wants, but
also, by the way, like 100. So
critically acclaimed. By the way,
I love that movie.
Long after the allegations, long after the marriage to Sunyi. Critically acclaimed, Match Point, Oscar nominated. I think it won for best screenplay.
Match Point was good. Yeah.
These people are so full of shit. Like suddenly they've I've woken up,
Yeah.
It's like, oh, after you made your fucking money?
Yeah, yeah.
What a
Right.
surprise. Like, you know.
Russell Simmons is somewhere in Bali right now. Right now.
Yeah, what's going on with Russell?
Actually
man?
doing yoga, I would assume.
What's going on with Russell?
He got the fuck out. Like he smelled trouble and
He did.
Oh, yeah.
dipped to
He was
Bali
done.
and he's
Said he was done.
literally there right now.
That's it?
Yeah, he announced he was done.
Out of- yeah,
But he's
out of
done.
I'm out.
He
I'm a
kinda-
billionaire. I'm out.
Yeah.
Yeah. So here's my question for all of you, because what you do is very difficult. Joe, what do you do to stay calm?
I don't.
Now we've
But you know
entertained
that's a
you.
problem, right? That's going to kill you
I've
earlier
seen him.
than
Yeah,
later.
I've seen
I
him
know.
lose it 3 times in my presence.
Yeah.
He's like, "I'm sorry." He goes, "I gotta vent for a minute," and this was like, "Whoa!"
Yeah,
I go, "You're in the right company." Sorry, go ahead.
No, I'm like Bruce Banner. I'm like, I'm always angry.
I'm always there.
No, I don't. I'm in therapy for it now for the 17th time in my life, and I'm trying to work on it.
That's a good
You
thing.
know, I drink. I'm not gonna lie, drinking makes me happy. It puts me in a calmer, better mood. I take Prozac, that evens me out enough that I can get through the day. I try not to rely on alcohol too much. I probably do, but that's it for me. Like, I don't pop Xanax. I don't, meditate or any of that stuff.
Have you tried meditation?
I've tried it. I don't find it terribly effective, but I'm not against it. I try to incorporate. Let me put it this way. I try to incorporate things into my day that are soothing.
Right.
So if I walk for 2 or 3 miles with my dog, I find that
That's
very
great.
relaxing.
That's amazing.
Oh, yeah.
That's
Yeah.
meditation. That's great.
So, or if I write for a while, or I play video games, whatever. Those things. Actually, I get very.
Yeah, video games are not relaxing.
Yeah, my mom said to me once. She's like, maybe you don't sound like you enjoy it when you play it.
Kill shot.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
But I try to do things within my day. Yeah, honestly, napping too. Like I'm a big fan of having like a meal and then taking a nap.
Siesta, yeah.
So like, I just try to do stuff like that. And the stage is very calming for me, even though I'm kind of I don't know if you'd say I was aggressive on stage, but I mean it's I'm ranty. Let's put it that way. But I find the stage pretty relaxing.
Yeah, it's your safe place.
But that all is done because the in-between to me is very stressful. I find I don't worry about the big stuff. I sweat the small stuff. I'm not worried about what the president is doing because I'm not going to get through to the president, and nobody is,
Right,
I always... I'm sorry. I'm just saying this so it doesn't. So you don't think I'm doing bits, but like I have a line in a joke about. I'm like, Trump's never going to come out at a press conference tomorrow and go, guys, I've been thinking. You
Yeah.
know? Like it's just never going to happen.
He tweets that.
Yeah. So it's like that doesn't rile me up, and the fact that it riles most of the people around me up, that riles me up.
Right.
Because it's like the. It's like growing up. It's like the church mothers when I was growing up, where there'd be the one mom that was sitting right up front in church every week, like she was the holiest and God's favorite, and then would, in the parking lot is backbiting everybody and being
Right.
awful.
Yeah.
And that's just kind
All of my aunts. Is every single one of them.
That's how I feel on average about people. They put forth this idealistic. Virtue signaling, whatever you want to call it, thing, and then you see how they treat people in the day-to-day, and it's terrible. I mean, it's like it's why any celebrity is suspect when they start talking to you about politics, because any true celebrity has had to do some shit to get there.
Yeah.
Yes, for sure.
It's just like any politician has. So when a celebrity starts trying to say, I'm holier than you because I'm going to tell you how to vote or whatever, it's like, fuck off, man. Like,
Well,
like
I think it's every yoga has all of that too.
Also, if anyone
Yeah,
is
that is
voting
true.
for
No,
someone
I don't doubt
because
it.
So
they
many
need to
teachers
veto,
in trouble because of the power play as a teacher.
Really?
Using that power and then, sexual assault, et cetera, et cetera.
Well,
Yeah.
and also, and in what industry is that not the truth? You know what I mean? It's like when you become, it's like nobody would ever look at nobody would ever go, if you heard a horrible story about the CEO of Exxon or something, you would never go, I don't believe it. I think he's a good man. You just based on knowing he was the CEO of a corporation of that size and that global power, whatever. You would go, oh yeah, probably.
Yeah, and no matter what it is, you almost it's like that's it. You always kind of think it's like there's got to be more to that.
But when it's a politician or a celebrity, we go, no. I don't believe that. I think that they're a good, and it's like
You don't know
give me
them.
a fucking break.
Yeah, I mean, you do that with
this
yogis too.
person.
So you do you believe that all of you? Do you believe that people are inherently good or bad?
I think everyone. I think inherently good, but much like a dialect or taste in music or whatever, it's environmental. So it's from the day you were born. Everyone's born inherently good. It's from that point on, whatever influences around you, whether it's your upbringing, your parents, your fucking crazy uncle, whatever the case may be, your friends, you're all influenced. From age 0 until you do some shit. For the first time, you get a taste of something and. You kind of make your decision from there. I mean, I grew up with friends that were in church and did all this, and then I maybe don't see them for a couple years. I come back and they're into some shit, and I'm like, what the fuck happened? And all this time, and I mean, I've had friends who went to prison and now are in the Aryan Nation because they had to pick a side, but like kind of through that they just start they have these ideologies and I think it's just influence and pressure and environment. That all kind of, it's like a recipe. I think it's hard to say that someone's born.
Well, like
I do think there are some that are born.
Speaking for myself,
please.
For the first 10 years of my life, the amount of damage that happened to me, I spent the next 20 trying to live with myself. And I mean, I say that in all seriousness because you get fucked up early.
Yeah.
By the time you're 5, you've probably taken on whatever genetic shit is going to be passed on to you, whether it's your mom fucking sitting around the house smoking, whatever it is, that shit affects you and it kind of molds you as you get into those ages. All of a sudden your balls drop and then you're worried about not being different. And then all of a sudden you're like, I'm drinking, whatever. Like, I mean, that's how a lot of people go down a spiral of usually hating yourself makes you have the energy to fucking shit on other people, pretty much, I think.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think we're just a higher breed of animals.
I agree.
And that's all that there is. I just think that, and I think that some animals can be housebroken and other ones can't.
Yeah.
And it's just, it's like, and it's, there's a golden retriever in my neighborhood that's like one of the most vicious fucking dogs I've ever encountered. It's crazy.
Bad parents,
Yeah, so you're like that's usually that's not the case, but it can happen. So it's like
his owner's an asshole.
I mean, you everybody's got the bum in their family. It's like, well, you came from the same family I did. Why am I not in jail for heroin trafficking?
Right, yeah.
Right.
It's like, and it's back to the violent video games and neo-Nazism or whatever negative outside influence you want to put it on. It's like, dude, if you get drawn into that there's something in you that was just not right.
Yeah, this is inherently going to be attached to that easier.
Yeah, that's why I disagree with you. I believe that if you believe in good, you have to believe. If you believe in light, you have to believe in darkness. You wouldn't have one without the other.
No, I agree.
So do you think
I think there are souls that are born in darkness. I do.
Do you think that those souls, and this is a very kind of like blanket statement, but do you think that those souls can be saved, or
I think it's karma.
Think it's already just like in the back, and it just takes that triggering moment to like bring it out. So I guess you grew up in a loving family, you're kind of like, you're taught the right things, you're not really exposed to a lot of, like negativity or violence or, any sort of like hateful energy. And
Ted Bundy,
you
see it all the time.
But you were born kind of, in that darkness, like you're saying. Do you think that somebody can live their entire life even having triggers kind of around them and be above that? Or you think just naturally it will come out?
I think that they can. I think that there is always potential for change. Yeah, in a soul, I do. But I don't know. I mean, that's karma, and if you believe in karma or if you don't, right? Yeah. There are 3 kinds of karma, and that's one of them. Is what I do here. Every decision I make here.
Well, it's also too. I think the people can change, but there's always that thing. It's still there.
Yeah.
I don't have a doubt in my mind that if I know guys that grew up in really rough neighborhoods and have really that have been to prison and stuff like that have changed their lives tremendously and are wonderfully calm and accepting and loving people, but I know that if you push the wrong button,
Yeah.
that thing can come out.
For sure.
Bear, yeah.
You know, so I think you're able to train a pit bull. You're able to get a pit bull to not act like a pit bull, but it can still act like a pit bull if the wrong button gets pushed.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? It's like plenty of people have pet lions or whatever the fuck it is, and it's usually fine. You know what I mean? But it's like people to me are the same way. It's like, and there are some people that are born that are just always going to be the little wormy guy that just isn't that threatening or whatever, or the very passive woman who's mousy and whatever, you know. And then there are other people that just, you know, and then there's the lost causes where it's like this guy was just going to eat people. No matter what they taught him, he was just going to eat people.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I have a theory, and I mean, I'm sure there's going to be studies, or there is a study, that people who grow up in you know, lower socioeconomic environments, particularly like black men, almost all like suffer from PTSD. Same thing that, you know, people in the military have, and you're talking about trauma that happens at a very young age.
Right.
And, you know, me and kind of my family and just kind of being a black man, like therapy and shit like that, and nobody talks about that shit.
No.
Nobody, like, I don't know anybody in my family, I don't know anybody associated with that.
We're
has
not paying
ever
anybody.
seen a fucking therapist, and I've had 4. And I'll never forget when I first told my mom that I was like going to therapy. To her, she's like, oh my God. Like, you know, she's like,
Right.
like, what happened to you? And I'm like, no, I'm just like, I'm kind of
Right.
in a place right now where I feel like I need somebody to like walk me through this. And I think a lot of times, you know, that there could be, you know, especially some that are like, we'll say like born in the light, that immediately are exposed to it. I mean, you say, you know, in the first 5 to 10 years, you know, they see death, the same thing that people who go to Afghanistan or Iraq, they see that and they're immediately traumatized from it, but like no one pays attention. Then they kind of go through life and then they have those triggering moments, and, you know, whether it's for like a dime bag of weed or whether it's for a fight in the park, and now they're kind of like booked and they're in the system, and then you can never get them back. And I think a lot of times people have a preconceived notion, I guess, of just like how that environment is shaped, and they don't take into consideration that like no one's ever talked to these people about their feelings or about how, you know, like how these different things like are affecting them. And so like death and violence are actually more plausible than rationale and happiness and, you know, and things like that. So you see people who just like look hardened, and they're like 14, you know, and it kind of goes back, you know, we're talking about
so they've just done a study actually, and this came up in my last teacher training that I did. I love the brain. I think the brain is fascinating. And if you look at pictures of the brain and what fires, like with an alcoholic, and then with narcotics addict, or with someone who has PTSD, has been to war, this all fires very differently. They're tracking back with African Americans genetically back to like slave ancestry, and how that does damage in your brain now.
And it's breeding. And so you're talking about over like 500 plus years of just obviously therapy and slavery days have probably been nice for some of them, but, you know, but until present day. And, you know, oftentimes, you know, it's a joke, but, you know, it's almost like, you know, people like African American, like, you don't know if you're fucking African American, you know, you assume, but, you know, you just take someone who is, you know, a descendant of, you know, an African slave that, you know, brought over in the slave trade, and all of that trauma for the years. And like, so I actually, I guess I waver a little bit, and I kind of come to your side with, it could be very well possible that, you know, like you said, you know, you raise a pit bull the right way, you know, there's different breeds of animals, there's different breeds of people, and you're born having these habits and traits that you almost kind of like learn instinctually, which is survival. Everything, you know, that we have, you know, mechanical skills is all based on survival. And the way that some people go about it, it's kind of very primitive, or, you know, kind of like instinctual. And for others, it's more of a rationale. And I think that is where I think the light and the dark kind of comes from, having, you know, just those like basic instincts to just do what it takes to survive. Like, you know, the amount of, you know, black males that, you know, grow up with no fathers but figure out a way, you know, and you kind of look at it as like, damn, like you came from a lot, black or white, really, for that matter, true. You know, any race, you know, in male or female, that kind of come up in those environments and figure out a way without having any guidance, without having any therapy, having anyone to really actually kind of like hold your hand and walk you through it. And I find that to be more fascinating oftentimes than someone who, kind of comes into it. But I think that's pretty common for everybody, to see somebody come from nothing to something as opposed to, kind of being born in it. But, for those who didn't have it, we kind of go back to the car ride here, and I'm thinking to myself, like, well, what the fuck? Maybe, it's something kind of beyond me, or the guy that makes the left turn, like maybe it's something else, like I go through shit days and people hit me up asking a million fucking questions, and I'm like, how dare they do that? I'm like, oh, they don't know. Like, they don't know, they don't know what the fuck I've been going through all day and all week and all month. So,
yeah.
How are we doing on time there?
I think
we're at 54 minutes.
54.
Ooh, look at that.
Got a big night ahead of us.
Content kings.
Yeah.
Call it out.
I got to prep for the show.
Prep for the show. You guys, so thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
Curtis,
this was fun.
Flagg. Joe DeRosa is in town. My wife, Hillary Lockwood, here.
I'm gonna do a guided meditation for Joe before he goes on tonight.
Nice.
See how it
Bobby
changes
wants one for sure.
I know he does.
Bobby
We
needs to
were talking
meditate.
about
Yeah,
it.
come to the show tonight.
Yep.
It'll be funnier than this.
Oh!
Well, I mean, it's not going to be
This was very serious.
this heavy.
time.
Is my
It's
point.
got a lot.
That's very
So,
heavy.
Joe DeRosa tonight at North Bar. Great local comics on with him. Some guys, Blake Burkhart, Dale McPeak, Joe McMahon.
Nice.
And Ed Towns.
Ed Towns.
Yes. And then the podcast Sunday, Joe.
Yeah, my podcast, We'll See You in Hell, is Sunday, 2 live shows at North Bar, 7 and 9:30. Pat Walsh and I discuss horror flicks. Tickets are available, and we're doing Chicago-based horror this time. So we're doing Candyman on one show,
Cabrini
and
Green.
Henry,
Yes,
Portrait of a
Cabrini.
Serial Killer probably on the second show. I think that's a late
Yeah.
a late show
Favorite
movie.
subjects.
But anyway, we'll be doing those. So come by.
All right. Thanks so much, you guys.
I'm bored
Bye-bye.
with you. Love you.
Love you too.